when addressing others to ensure that there's no identification of individuals after the session. We record webinars for a number of reasons: for internal training purposes, to provide to funders as part of our commitments to them, and so that trainees can watch these sessions in the future in order to support their career development where they have been unable to attend the live sessions. We store these videos on our secure internal Teams platform and as private YouTube videos, which cannot be accessed without our permission. We will store these videos for a maximum of 5 years. You will have the right to choose to leave the session at any stage if you do not wish to be recorded. If you do choose to leave, we will hold another unrecorded webinar to accommodate you wherever we can. If you have spoken during the session and wish for the recording to be deleted, we will do so. Neither Microsoft Teams or Springboard store any information about you, including your IP address. For further information, please visit the news article Understanding Webinars on your Flow training platform. Right, so this is it. A wonderful warm welcome to our guest today, Helen McBride, General Manager of the Old Course Hotel in St Andrews. Thank you so much for taking the time out of, no doubt, a busy schedule to come and join us today. Tell us maybe, first of all, for those who maybe don't know much about the Old Course Hotel, what is the Old Course Hotel and what makes it so special?
Absolutely. Thank you, Wolfgang. It's a pleasure to be here and to speak with you all. The Old Course Hotel is situated in St Andrews, right on the edge of the Old Course golf course. So although we don't own the Old Course golf course, that is obviously the original golf course for the game of golf. So St Andrews is the home of golf, and we are lucky enough to be right in the middle of it. Quite uniquely, we have obviously coastal views as well as golf course views. So it is quite a stunning property. We are 175 bedrooms now. We've just finished a lot of extension work. 175 rooms with a spa, 7 food and beverage outlets, private apartments. We also have a farm. We have an airport, which we look after as well. So private jet landings over at Lucas, which is the airbase just down the road behind me here. And we have a large event space as well. So the Old Course is renowned. It's owned by the Cola Company, and it is really quite a stunning property. Obviously, we have a lot of golfers coming to play the renowned Old Course and many other courses around St Andrews. So summertime is usually the golfer, although things have been changing recently over the last 18 months, but definitely attract the golfer and also the leisure market as well. Okay, so quick question, are you a golfer yourself? And if so, have you played the Old Course before? I am not a golfer myself. Sadly, I'm far too busy to get out on the golf course for 4 hours. I can talk a good game of golf, but I can't play it. My kids are just taking up golf, actually. They've just got the bug. So a lot of time is spent either stood around a golf course or talking about golf, but I've not swung a club. I think I'll be quite dangerous. So tell us, a general manager of such a big place, such a world famous place, your day must be full of exciting things that you're doing. Talk us maybe through sort of a typical day of a general manager at the Old Course Hotel. Well, yes, it is quite diverse, my day. So I have a plan. I only live just inside in St Andrews, so I've got about a 6-minute drive to work. I've obviously got my diary ready and I know what I'm meant to be doing before I get to work, because I know what meetings I've got scheduled. And I'm literally in the door 3 minutes before the plan is thrown out. So there's always something different, always something new going on that you can't see. So hospitality, quite a few curveballs, which I catch as I come through the door. And those, the immediate guest issues or the immediate guest follow-up that we need to do, that's the first priority. So although I do have meetings scheduled in my diary, I'd much rather be out on the floor working with the team and the guests. So if I have to cancel a meeting, I will do so. But normally I'm in about 20 past 8. And the morning briefing starts at 9:15. So all the leaders of all departments join for the 9:15 briefing, either on Teams or in person in the ballroom, nicely spread out. And we go through the daily sheet and what's happening for the day and the guests that we've got coming in, how many rooms we have, any challenges for the day before or the day coming up, and what they could bring to the hotel for the day. Then everybody tells us. We share information from departments. Anyone needs support, short-staffed, which is usually the case. So we have quite a diverse team that are able to assist in other areas. So front desk will help in restaurants will help in receptions. So we work that out in the morning briefing. Then I tour the hotel. So like I say, 175 rooms. I know that it takes me 7 minutes to get from one end of the hotel to the other end of the hotel on ground floor. And then as you start to bring in the other floors up to the 4th floor, a property tour can last anywhere from 45 minutes to 3 hours, depending on what you find on your tour, checking fire exit, checking standards, checking the hotel presentation, the team's presentation, chatting. I do a lot of chatting to guests and staff. That's how you get the feedback, and that's how you find out what we need to work on, what's working well. Then the meetings get slotted in there. My PA, Jean, is a master at ensuring I am where I need to be when I need to be. So she's got eyes all over the hotel. Where's Helen? Send her here, send her there. Because I do go a little bit rogue sometimes. And department head one-to-ones. So I have a weekly one-to-one with all the department heads. So they get scheduled in for an hour, and we minute those meetings and we discuss everything to do with the department and support that they need. And then I'm back out chatting to guests again. Usually by the afternoon it's sort of settled down, everybody's good and they've got everything they need to do the job, so they do another walk around, and then touch base with front desk and concierge just before I leave, depending on what's going on, anywhere from about 6, 7, 8 o'clock, depending on what it is. I do duty manager shifts, and they last, some of the afternoon shifts go from sort of 12 o'clock in the afternoon till 8 p.m. So that way I get to see the night team as well. So support the four guys and girls that work for nights, because that is quite a lonely job. So if I didn't work late, I'd never see them, which is not what we do. And then anything else that starts sort of outside on the golf course that we own up at the Dukes, or in the farm needs support. Aircraft are starting to land again at Lucas, so that type of thing comes into play. And then we also own Hamilton Grand, which is an apartment building just on the 18th there. We've got a restaurant underneath that as well, so I go over there and have dinner, check with the team, see what they need. I have come through restaurants, so if I realise that a restaurant is short-staffed, I will ask if I can help them with the service, because I do love to work in a restaurant.
So when you say you help them in the restaurant, what do you physically do? Do you go around clearing tables and serving drinks and so on?
Absolutely, yeah. I can. They're quite safe to put me in any role apart from the kitchen. Don't put me in the kitchen. From receptionist to waitress to bartender to anything that they need, basically. And you know, when you're in the hospitality industry, you can sort of tell when a restaurant is starting to lose its footing and its service is starting to suffer. I can sort of just jump in and give them a help out for 40 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, the whole service, whatever they need, and it's always a lot of fun.
So what does like a new member of staff who starts maybe the first day as a waiter in your hotel there and suddenly realizes that the general manager is clearing tables around them, how do they react to that?
Well, it took a little bit of education, I have to say. When I first started at the old course, I was resident manager, so but I would jump in and help at breakfast, and the manager at breakfast at the time was, terrified that I was in the restaurant and I shouldn't be there and I shouldn't be serving. A manager shouldn't be, that much involved with service. The team know me now and they are more than happy to welcome me in, and it's great to talk. So obviously I do the induction before the team starts in the business, so they know who I am and they know how approachable I am, and they know that I will be in their restaurants or in their bars or in their spa, and they'll see me around and they can stop and ask me anything. So from the very beginning, everybody knows that I'm one of them and I'm in it with them, and sometimes they don't want me in their restaurant, but I like to be there. So no one's worried, no one's scared. I mean, the more back of house areas, they're a little bit more nervous of me walking through, but front of house, absolutely not.
And what would you say is your favorite part of the job? And maybe also what would you say is maybe the most challenging part of your job then?
The favorite part and the challenging part are exactly the same thing, and that's the people.
Okay.
Yeah. So my favorite part is the people, from the associates and everybody that I work with to the guests and all of those guys that come in and out of the hotel on a daily basis. They're all also the biggest challenge. My job here is to look after the team and support the team. And you've got obviously team members that, don't tell you anything and just try and get through things, and then there's a problem and I don't know the history to it. So it's trying to make sure, and obviously everybody is different, so you have to treat everybody differently and help people differently. And then you've got the guests, which we all know in hospitality we can have fabulous guests and those that are more challenging. So I will always, if there's a complaining or a problem with a guest, I will go and find that guest immediately and try and help them and help turn that round. Some of us will step back a little bit because they don't want to be shouted at by a guest. But I, of course, have been in the industry for many, many years now, and a challenging guest is my favorite guest.
Okay, how come?
Because it's an instant gratification when you can turn them around from being super, super unhappy to being absolutely thrilled. And, you know, hospitality, especially all hospitality, is providing providing the guest with a service and a product that's really, you know, they want to pay for and they want to enjoy. So it's really quite easy to turn around a guest that's complaining into one that absolutely loves you. And it's very gratifying, and it doesn't take long. The most important thing is not to let a guest leave the property unhappy. You have to catch them while they're in the property, and you can fix their problems. But as soon as they start with emails or social media, it's very difficult then to turn them around and to fix their problem. So the quicker we fix it, the better it is.
So could you give us maybe an example of a story where you have met somebody who was very, very unhappy, and tell us what you did to them to then turn them into a really happy customer? Can you give us one example maybe?
I can give you many, many, but I know we're short of, we have long. So just I'll use one of the more recent ones. A lady was bringing her mother for staying 2 nights stay in the hotel, and we didn't give her the type of room that they required, which was a walk-in shower and 2 double beds in the room. So the only room that we had available that night was a double bed and then a fold-away bed. And the room also had a high level step over bath. And of course, the mum couldn't get over the bath and into the shower. So it was very uncomfortable. And also the bed configuration was just not right. Coupled with that, we have construction noise going on next to them. And some of the builders were less than 5-star with their language. So there was that problem. And they hadn't pre-booked the spa or the restaurants before they arrived. And with the COVID regulations, all the restaurants were booked up very quickly because the seats were reduced, and also the spa also had reduced occupancy or availability. So it was all a complete disaster. So I asked where the guest was, and she came and met me in the library. And the first most important thing is to, if it is our fault, is to let the guests know that, yeah, absolutely, this is not acceptable, and take the responsibility for the problem. No excuses, no revert, you know, it's not our fault, it's the builders, or we didn't know, you didn't book the proper configuration of the beds. Take all the responsibility for the issue away from the guest, and it's our fault, and we will do what we can to fix it. So obviously I couldn't give her a room because we didn't have any. We were full. I couldn't change that configuration for the first night, but I was able to for the second night. And I know that restaurants have a table, you know, just tucked around the corner quietly where nobody knows. I know that that happens. The spa wasn't so easy, but I just kept close to the guests for the rest of their stay. I had the duty manager ensure that they were looked after and they were followed, and they were looked after for their entirety of their stay. We gave them a complimentary tour around St Andrews in the BMW, down onto the beach and up into the historic St Andrews with the most amazing concierge who knows everything to do with St Andrews. He was lovely. So just gave them that little extra bit of attention, and then invited them back for one of our new rooms, which has just come online, which have double beds and are made for double occupancy, but not in the same bed, and comped that stay. So they had 100% complimentary stay for dinner one night with spa treatments, and really just showed them exactly how we do it properly when we obviously were not able to do it properly for them on their first visit. Now they are our guests again, and they will return with more family and friends.
Fantastic. That sounds like a great story. Could you maybe tell us, I'm very much aware that obviously Old Course Hotel is very famous, and a lot of very famous people do stay with you. You must have had some interesting stories to tell about celebrities as well. Can you maybe tell us who has been your favorite celebrity that you have met, and why? Are you allowed to talk about that?
We obviously, there is a confidentiality agreement in the hotel. So we, I mean, I can't tell you names exactly, but obviously all of the top golfers have been here. We have the Dunhill tournament that happens every year, and we're looking forward to that at the end of September. I'm sure, you know, everybody knows who comes here. The most, the one that sticks to mind was the big boxer, Klitschko. Klitschko.
Yeah.
We have a 6'4" concierge, head of concierge, Tom, and Klitschko stood next to Tom and just completely dwarfed him. Klitschko went to shake my hand, and my hand just completely disappeared in this guy's huge fists. So he was, and just so smiley and wonderful. But what I will say, as far as celebrities go, that everybody is a celebrity to us. So just because you're Tom Cruise and you've got your ship parked off the beach, and you are a superstar, you're treated the same way as all of our other guests are. So you might have come from Glasgow or Edinburgh, but everybody is treated in the same way. We had Prince William and Kate staying the other month, and they had certain requests of lemon with their gin upstairs and olives, but they were so down to earth, and they walked through the lobby. There was no private entrances for them, and they chatted with the guys in the lobby, and they were just absolutely amazing and really low maintenance. What you tend to find is the ones that it comes naturally to are much easier to look after, and the ones that think they're almost there, they can be quite the challenge. We had Tom Jones in. He wanted to use a separate lift, so he just used the lift down here. But again, super easygoing, just a normal guest wanting to have a lovely stay in a hotel. So what we've asked, or what we coach the team here, is that just because they're on TV doesn't mean that they are different, and all of our guests get the same 5-star service.
And do you remember any stories, or what would you say has been the most outrageous special request from as a VIP guest, without maybe telling us any names? Is there anything that jumps to mind?
We're sort of used to, they don't sort of stand out really, for whether it be, I'd like a massage in my room. That's pretty standard these days. Oh, can we land the helicopter on the old course?
Okay.
No, you can't. Sorry, you can't land on the old course. You can go the other side of the hotel where we have a rugby pitch, but no, you can't land in the middle of the old course. We try to say yes, obviously, to things, but when they're slightly outrageous, we don't. Not so much in this property. In other properties that I've worked, there have been more outlandish issues, to the point where we had a guest that wanted caviar. We didn't have any on the island, so we did send the room service waiter, who also flew helicopters, to another larger island, where he picked up the caviar and flew it back, and we were able to serve the guest caviar in the evening. But here, not so wild, not so wild. People are here to play golf and have a good glass of wine and a lovely steak.
Fantastic. So maybe we can go a little bit back in your career then, Helen. Tell us a little bit, what was your first job in the industry, and what made you think that this could be the industry for you?
All right, so now we're going back many years, and I won't tell you how old I was or how many years ago, because it'll give my age away. But I first started as a chambermaid. That's what we were called in those days, housekeeping. And that was when I was still in high school. So just down the road, there was a lovely bed and breakfast, and I used to work there at the weekends. Then when I left, I started a university degree for information systems management, but it wasn't for me. It was far too, IT really still isn't for me, to be honest. So I left and I got a job as a waitress in Bath, and that's where we lived. And then London beckoned, so I just got a job up in London with Terence Conran, and got a bug for opening restaurants. So I was a busser when I first opened a restaurant on the Thames. So that was the Butler's Wharf Chop House, and then from there I just moved through the Conran restaurants and just kept getting a new position, the next level up in another opening, and just moved on from there, really. And that was my London, the start of London, and I just kept going. I went then to open the Great Eastern Hotel, and I was a restaurant manager there. And from there moved company, actually, and started working for an American company called it was the Sanderson Hotel, but I was with Schrager, and they were doing the food and beverage. And Alan Ducasse, who's a Michelin star chef, who was phenomenal, and all through, stayed in restaurants. Then I had ambition, so I wanted to be a standalone general manager in London, which I achieved. And then I decided that I was done with London and I wanted to go internationally. So I got a job in Barbados and worked there for a year in Sandy Lane. Then I went over to Shanghai and worked for Jean-Georges in Shanghai, which was phenomenal, but quite a difficult city to live in. Then I came back to London and sort of stopped for a bit. and really thought what I wanted to do. And then the Caribbean called. So a friend who I met in Barbados said, can you come out to the British Virgin Islands and help me out? So I went over to Rosewood Little Dicks and worked 10 years there with them. And had a great time. And then I got offered a job on Necker Island, working on Richard Branson's private island, which was just the next door island, and worked there for a couple of years before being headhunted to come back to the UK. I've never worked in Scotland before, to be general manager of this stunning property. So quite the varied locations, and worked my way up through the food and beverage line to get where I am now.
So you basically started as a chambermaid in housekeeping and had a fantastic, glamorous career in the industry, without any major qualifications or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I have no qualifications. And funnily enough, I just did an interview for the Caterer magazine, and she asked me if it was important for people to have qualifications in the hospitality industry. And I think it is important. It's definitely important for us all to study and to keep our brains active, because hospitality is such a physical, moving, operational job. But if I could do it over again, I would definitely have picked up some qualifications while I was doing the practical work. It's not stopped my career at all, and I've got where I've got with hard work. But yeah, if a CV crosses my desk and it's got the person has qualifications, it gets as much attention as one without qualifications, because I appreciate that experience is vital in this role, in all roles in hospitality. But these days now we interview with no experience. So we interview now on attitude, and we train.
So how do you see in an interview whether a candidate has the right attitude or not?
Passion. All you need is the bright face, the big smile, the good questions, the interest, but it's the passion. If someone has got passion and got the right attitude, we can teach anybody anything. All the work that you guys do at Springboard, and then also all the experience that we have in the hotel as well. We can teach anybody anything if they want to do it, but you have to want to do it, because hospitality is long hours, weekends, Christmas, that type of thing. But yeah, attitude, passion, and interest is really important when it comes to interviewing.
So talking about passion, what would you say is your favorite thing about hospitality? Why have you been in this industry for such a long time?
We're going back to the people again.
Okay.
It is that very much that the variation of people and what they bring to your day and what you bring to their day. Someone, the way you talk to people, the way you handle situations can either motivate or demotivate. So my job I see as being a bit of a referee all day and a bit of a coach, so that I manage the departments to get along really well together to provide the best. And I look for the challenges so that I can nip them in the bud. But yeah, it's the people. I couldn't work in an office. Because I don't get to talk to enough people, and I would be terrible at that job.
Okay, fantastic. What would you say then is your least favorite part of your job? Is there such a thing?
There is, sadly, yes. When you get all the way through, when you become a manager, there's the admin. So there's the schedules and the payroll and the stuff that you have to do. So stuff you have to do in the office. So I manage my time very well, and I set aside blocks through the week that I come into the office and I do the admin, but it's no longer than 2 hours at a time. Otherwise I'll lose concentration. I won't get the reports right, or I won't get, all the things that I need to do correct. So yeah, just the things that I don't like, obviously, I just break them down into smaller, bite-sized pieces, and then they don't become a challenge. I can't give myself a full day of admin, because that day would just be a waste of time, and I wouldn't do it. So breaking those admin pieces down into little bits, and I'll get them done.
Fantastic. That sounds like a great top tip already there. Talking about top tips, what would you give as a top tip to anybody, any job seeker who maybe for the very, very first time wants to get into the hospitality industry, has no experience as such to put on their CV? How can they get themselves in front of a manager to be interviewed for a job?
Yeah, so it's important to get to the right people. right? So if you know somebody that already works there, word of mouth is always very good. So we use that a lot. Do you know have we got any friends that want to come and have a chat with us? So from housekeeping, food and beverage, that's always a good way. And in fact, that's how we've picked up quite a few of our summer team this year. So word of mouth. So if you know somebody there, other than that, giving a call and asking to speak to the HR department, the human resources department, to say that you're interested in a position. So being approached that way. Sending an email is also, everyone gets thousands of emails a day. So more of a personal tip for this would be to go into the property itself, smartly dressed and with a big smile, and don't be nervous. We're only people, and go to the concierge or front desk and say, I was just wondering if anybody could talk to me about any positions that you have. Big smile, nice and confident, and we will snap you up. Because if you have the confidence and you have the presentation to walk into a hotel and ask, you're 90% there, because you've got the confidence to speak to people that you don't know. I understand it's nerve-wracking, but it does work.
Fantastic. That's a great top tip then. And looking at your career, obviously, it sounds like you've done extremely well from the beginnings all the way to where you are now, one of the most, being the manager of one of the most prestigious hotels in the country. What would be your top tip then for somebody who wants to have a similar career path, or just somebody who wants to has certain ambitions and wants to do well in this industry? What would be your top tips for them?
Yeah, so it's important to sort of work backwards, I think. So you have your goal. So in 5 years, I want to be working in an international hotel. So you have your goal and you try and find out what attributes you need to be able to attain that goal. Do you need a qualification? Do you need other experience? And then you start filling your toolbox with those tasks and with those experiences and with those skills, that when you get closer to your goal, you're able to say, well, I can do this and this and this and this. The other thing important is to use the resources around you. So you have a human resources department and you need to go and say, can I have a 15, 20 minute, half an hour chat with you about my career aspirations and how I will be able to achieve my goal? And they will help you. Sometimes in hotels, and we've just started it again here, is a mentor program. So we give a senior manager to a junior manager, and it's not to talk about the technicalities of their role, but it's to talk about them as a person and their development and what they want to do, and we can help put the right resources in front of them. So it's sort of working backwards, knowing what your goal is, and then figuring out what you need to be able to get there. And there's, like I said, there's many resources that you can use within the hotel and the industry, such as yourself, Springboard, training, doing online classes. I heard you mention Flow earlier. We use Flow and we love it. So a huge training tool here is Flow, and you can ask for all sorts of different qualifications there, but keep pushing yourself, keep learning. Don't just sit back, because you'll never get to where you want to be. You have to push yourself.
Fantastic. Great top tips there. Now, guys, I'm becoming a little bit aware of time there. So if you have any questions for Helen, please do put them in the chat function. We do have the very first question already there. We've got a question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, Helen?
Oh my word. See, that would be giving away my age again. So I have achieved the role of general manager. I'm still under 50, but only just. So I suppose in 5 years' time, I still want to be in front of the guest. Right? I'm not ready to retire at all until, well, I don't even think I can retire because I always want to be in front of the guest. So I'll still be in the hospitality industry, most definitely. And I will be in a prestigious hotel within the UK, hopefully within Scotland, because my kids are still, my oldest has just gone to high school. So now he won't be out of there for a good couple of years. So we'll probably still be in St Andrews, to be honest, but I would have liked to have grown the business more and get some more facets to the business, maybe grow it so that I'd love if the Cola company could own a castle in Scotland and we could run a castle as well as more of a city town property. So development. So definitely developing the business for the owners is the next.
That sounds like you can't really sit still ever at any time. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, that doesn't really come naturally.
Guys, if any more questions, please put them in the chat function there. In the meantime, Helen, you said in the beginning that you have staff shortages. I think everybody in the industry has similar challenges. How would you recruit at the moment? Or let's put it the other way around. If somebody wants to work for the Old Course Hotel, then what's the best way of applying for jobs or finding out about them?
So we are doing an awful lot of advertising, as every other hotel is doing advertising. So it's very easy to apply for the position online, Indeed, on our website. So making sure that all channels of accessibility for the candidate are there. We do recruitment evenings. So we did a very successful recruitment evening 2 months ago. We're going to be doing another one in September, and anyone can rock up. We've had lots and lots of people, some guys coming in with their mum and dad looking for their first job, some that have had more experience but sadly were displaced from their position due to COVID. So regular recruitment events. We're also up in the university for Freshers Week next week, the week after, sorry, to just show people that we're there and we're able to, we're recruiting, and you don't necessarily have to have the skills, you just need to have the right attitude, and we'll teach you everything you need to know. And also word of mouth. I was walking, the Lammas Fair was in St Andrews last weekend, and I walked past a chef that used to work with us, and I turned to him and I said, "Oh, hi, nice to see you again. Are you working?" He said, "No, not at the moment." I said, "Well, why don't you come and see us next week?" So he came to see us on the Monday and he started work on the Tuesday.
Oh, wow. Never off duty.
Never off duty. Our food and beverage manager also has just recruited his neighbour. His neighbour wanted a job, and so they had a chat and an interview in the lounge, and he has joined us as a conference and banqueting supervisor. So you just need to keep your ears down and listen. And like I say, I mean, everybody knows just now that hospitality is, any recruit that's looking for a job in hospitality will get snapped up. There's more jobs than there are candidates just now.
Excellent. And what would you say would be the difference for a candidate working in a 5-star property like yours compared to maybe at a standard pub or restaurant? What's the difference from the employee's perspective? What's the expectation in terms of difference between working in a 5-star property and something else?
I don't think that there is too much of a difference, to be honest. I mean, the 5-star luxury product, right? So we put a lot into our sheets and our pillows and our tableware, whereas some of the smaller venues may not be able to buy a £10 dinner plate. They'll buy more of a £3 dinner plate. So it's the quality of the product. I think in any outlet, in any restaurant that you go to, you deserve, as a paying guest, great service. So whether you're going to Nando's or you're going to a Michelin star restaurant, the service should still be good service, and you need to feel the experience from the outlet. Obviously, if you're going to Nando's, it's slightly more relaxed, and you go there because that's what you want. And if you go to a Michelin star restaurant in Gleneagles, that sure, the service is going to have more add-ons, and it might be a little quieter, and there's going to be a different atmosphere. It's going to be a bit more expensive, but whichever server you have, as long as they're doing their level best to give you the best service, I think that's, there's not too much of a difference as far as the individual wait staff or the individual housekeeper. They are just given different tasks to do. So, in a fine dining, there's a middle course, or there's an amuse-bouche, or whereas in Nando's, it's one dish, as it were. But it's the product that really elevates the 5-star. And obviously the 5-star want the best, but so do Nando's. So it's different. It's just different levels of service and knowledge. But knowledge, again, Nando's need the knowledge, as does the 5-star Michelin star restaurant. As long as the team are giving their best, I don't think the manager or the owner could ask for more.
Fantastic. That sounds really interesting. Okay, guys, any last minute opportunities here for asking Helen any questions? In the meantime, I've got one more question for you, Helen, or maybe two. What has been, looking back at it, apart from the current job, what has been your favorite job in your career so far? And what's been maybe your favorite restaurant or hotel where you've had a memorable experience as a guest in?
Oh, yes, I have a favorite hotel at the moment, and that's the Balmoral in Edinburgh.
Okay.
Absolutely amazing service, product. I mean, we went there once at Christmas time and saw that big tree in the lobby. that hotel has it all. I think the afternoon tea is just phenomenal. The room product is amazing. The shops are just outside, so you don't have to go far to go shopping. So you're right in the middle of town, but it doesn't feel, it's not noisy. It's really just the atmosphere from the lobby all the way through to the restaurants is just phenomenal. And that's my absolute favorite hotel just now. And the other question, the other one was, sorry.
What has been your favorite job in the past, pre the Old Course Hotel? If you look back at it, is there one job that stands out for you thinking, I had a lot of fun there, or I really loved this for whatever reason?
Yes, yeah, I do. It's still there, but it's been redesigned, I believe. Quaglino's restaurant in London, which you may well know, Wolfgang.
Yes, very much so. Used to love that. Was one of my favorite places as well at the time.
Yeah, big restaurant. I think it was about 320, 340 seats in there. It was in a double basement, but the lighting in there was so cool. You didn't feel that you were in the basement, and it was a very fast moving middle of London restaurant that had the best food. Really good chef, John Terrose. He was the chef. He's obviously on TV just now. He was the chef while I was there. It was just so much fun, and he moved really quickly. But the team there was phenomenal. I'm still friends with quite a few of the guys that used to work there with me, and it was just the most amount of fun. Even if you didn't finish work until 2 a.m., you were out partying until 4 a.m. and then you were back at work at midday. So those were the days where you were young enough to be able to cope with that. I couldn't do that anymore.
Fantastic. And do you have maybe one memory of a job, and you don't have to tell us the company, that really you did not like for whatever reason, you just felt was not the right place for you, without maybe giving us a name of the property?
Yeah, the location, Shanghai. I mean, the job was great. The restaurant was amazing, but the city, Shanghai, was really quite difficult for me to get used to, because it was, it was governed by the Chinese government, and there was no Google. You couldn't. There was no Google. They would watch every step, and it was more the city than the restaurant. The restaurant was phenomenal. I've enjoyed every single restaurant and every single outlet and hotel has taught me something. But the location of Shanghai was too tricky for me. They also there's a lot of spitting in Shanghai, and I'm not very good with spitting, especially when they're spitting in my ice buckets. That was not very good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dear. Well, interesting story, that. Well, fantastic. I think we're going to finish on this one here. That sounds really good. Helen, thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure you have a lot of things going on today. Tell us maybe just as a last thing, what are you expecting to happen in the rest of your working day today?
My working day today, I'm going to be putting on my hard hat and my hobnail boots, and I'm going to go up to the new restaurant that's being built on the 4th floor and see how they're getting on with the construction up there. I'm not very good with heights, and the staircase is on the exterior of the building, and it's one of those scaffold staircases. So that bit I'm not looking forward to. By the time I get to the top, I'm actually shaking. But I just want to make sure that they've put the fridges in, and that the bathrooms have been fitted, because I went up on Friday and they weren't. So this Friday they should be, and just to make sure that that's good. And then my HR director is currently the duty manager, and she is on shift until 8 o'clock tonight. It's only her second one, so I will be following around with her and making sure she's comfortable. And yeah, catching up with finance about budgets, because we're in the budget season as well.
Fantastic. That sounds like a lot of fun there. Well, thank you so much for your time again, Helen. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you today. And yeah, thank you for taking the time to speak to us, and have a wonderful weekend and successful rest of the day.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Wolfgang. And thank you, everybody, for listening to me. I do hope you have a great day and a weekend too.
Thank you very much, Helen. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now. That's it.